All right, we're recording. Hello, Kari Driskell.
Hello, Tori.
Okay, so you and I were introduced
Mm-hmm.
through Jane Epstein, who's been on the podcast.
Yep.
And I'm really interested in you. It's so weird to say it like that, but I saw your story and I was like, I have to talk to her.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to tell your story. I want you to tell your story, and then I'm gonna pick your brain. I'm gonna
Okay.
pick the shit out of your brain. So tell your story. Take it away.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Okay. I already love you, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, so on a cold winter's night, I was born. Just kidding. All right. So in a previous life, I was a middle school math teacher,
Mhm.
and met my husband at college, and he was a high school biology teacher, and then turned weights teacher, football coach. We had kids. I stay at home. We have a great marriage, great life. I end up staying at home because we have two kids. I'm
Mhm.
married to this life coach, football coach. It's what he does. He's a teacher. He's fantastic at it. I do direct sales while the kids are little. We are busy because that's what kids do to us. Um, let's see, I started a video business, helping direct sellers create like edited, fun, quirky videos to keep people entertained. That was lucrative and I loved it, and I dove and became a workaholic in it because I found value and significance for myself. And I know by doing that, Eric dove deeper into football. And football, when you're a high school football coach at a predominantly successful program.
Kansas
It
City,
doesn't.
right? Or something like that?
Yeah. We're in South Overland Park, but it's Kansas City area.
Okay.
6A school, very very successful. He is well known. He's a young football coach. I mean, he's in his 40s, got a head coaching job there, and he speaks. He used to speak at like conventions nationally. People would always want to pick his brain. He was an incredible human, incredible football coach, called to do it. I
Mhm.
was happy to share him with the world because of the good that he brought to it. And it wasn't ever just about football.
I was just
And
about to say that, but
yeah,
anyway, keep going.
yeah. And I loved my role as a coach's wife,
Right.
and we're so proud of him. Like the kids grew up on the field, like that was our second home, it was our life. Um, but I'm now a workaholic and finding value and loving that. And he's diving more into his work, and the kids are now 8 and 11. And we've been married for almost 15 years, together for 17, and so we get on each other's nerves every once in a while. We banter, and it's like our form of foreplay, and it's fun, and we're in this great relationship. But this particular day, I'm mad at him because he's not helping me move the bed in the bedroom so that I
Ugh,
can paint the fucking wall. All I want to do is
what
paint this wall. Come and
what a
help me paint.
dick. Right.
Exactly. And so I have this thought very clear in my head. And when you're married to a football coach, you know what you sign up for.
Right.
He's not around a lot, but it's okay. He's doing what he's been called to do.
Right.
And so I have this thought very clear in my head, and I think to myself, God knows if anything were to happen to Eric, it would be okay, because look at me now. I'm doing it all now.
Right. Oh my God. Okay.
It's,
Wow.
I'm embarrassed to say it's not the first time I had that thought. We were together for 17 years.
Right.
It happens. But it
Yeah.
was the first time that I had that thought. And then 2 hours later, I got a phone call. Hurry quick, Eric's not breathing. And that's when it started. That's when the shit hit the fan. And I never saw him conscious again. So when
Oh
he
my
came
God.
into the bedroom, he was leaving for football. He was at the house all day. He was leaving for a football meeting. I didn't even know what he's going to football. It's going
Right.
football.
Right.
Whatever, just go.
Whatever the hell he did, he was
Yeah.
doing
So
it.
he stops in the doorway, and he's like, hey, the room looks good because, I'm painting. And I'm thinking to myself, well, of course it fucking looks good. It's done. And I did it. Like,
Right. Right. Right.
and so, but then I said kind of in a snarky little way, I've been thinking a lot about us. In my mind, I just was thinking to myself, because I thought, as I was painting and I had that terrible thought, I thought to myself, God, Kari, that was kind of shitty, like,
Right.
get a
But
grip.
I feel like you're not the first person I've heard has made that comment before.
No, because we're human.
Right.
Because we're
Exactly.
human. So, so I was like, I've been thinking a lot about us. And very gently, he goes, I said it not so nice. And he said, I've been thinking a lot about us too. Eric and I would have been fine. We would
Mm.
have worked it out.
Right.
But the day that he died, we were not on our
Working
A
it.
game.
Right.
And I had a lot of regrets about that.
I was just about to ask you if you had.
Yeah. So he said, come on over, give me a kiss. And then he
Oh,
smiled really cute. And Eric had this way about him, you just couldn't stay mad at him. And so I came over and I gave him a kiss. And it was soft and it was lingering. And it's the only kiss that ever mattered.
and it was the
And
last one, right?
and it was the last one. And he walked through the living room. I said, are you going to be home in time for Walking Dead? And he said, of course. And so I said, good. Because,
That's
priorities.
really right. I was just about to say, really, what else fucking matters,
Nothing matters.
We got to know what's going to happen with Glenn over here.
Right.
Right.
And he walked out my door. I walked out the garage door. I said goodbye to the kids. And anyway, and so that was the last time that I saw him alive. And during his football meeting, he went to a couple of different places, but it wasn't until that evening that he was, 2 hours later at a football meeting, and he was speaking and addressing the group. And I was told by, I'm friends with these other coaches, you know what I mean? Like, they're family for us. And he's talking to these other coaches, and he's telling them something about some program, and the guys were like, we thought he was making a joke because he just kind of stopped and like looked down for a minute, and that is when his aneurysm ruptured. We did not know he had one. He had a massive brain aneurysm with irreversible and instant brain damage. Because they were football coaches, they flew into action and gave him CPR, and that kept his body alive for 3 days.
Wow.
And so until we essentially pulled the plug because he was not coming back.
Okay. I was going to literally ask, like, was it just that sudden moment, or was he hospitalized? And okay.
Yeah. So he was in ICU for 3 days on life support. And so he collapsed on a Sunday. By Wednesday, we pulled the plug. So February 15th, we pulled the plug. And then that's his deceased day, even though we kind of recognize the 12th as his death day. On paperwork, it's the 15th. So on Wednesday. And on Friday, he donated organs. And Saturday morning, we had a celebration of life with over 3,000 people in attendance. And it was streamed virtually for people to watch.
That was the video you sent me, right?
That was, I think there was some, there was a clip of me speaking.
Yes.
So that was a portion that they had taken from the funeral.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay. So my first question, regarding the situation is, did that, because you said you guys weren't on the best of terms and stuff like that, and like you could have been on better terms, and obviously had he come home that night, you guys would have worked it out.
We would have worked it out.
But did that kind of change your perspective to think, because I'm one of those people that thinks like I can't stay mad at people, especially people I care about and I love, because what if that person, I never speak to them again,
Oh, you say that though, Tori. You say that. We all say it.
Right.
But in a relationship like that, like, I truly feel like we take things for granted unconsciously. We don't know that we're doing it. Right. But Eric will come home and we'll watch The Walking Dead and we'll talk about the crucial shit, on the next date, and we'll schedule a date because we haven't had a date in a while, and we need to prioritize ourselves as a couple because we haven't done it because the kids are keeping us too damn busy and work, and life and family and all the things that we should do that keep us from prioritizing us.
And so you don't even think that something like that is going to happen.
No. I mean, we have more time. Eric's only 43. I'm 38. We're young.
And I think of that too, like you were 38, I'm 31 now. It's only 7 years, like, from like, and it's like you don't expect anything. We all expect to hopefully live until our late 80s, you know what I mean? We don't expect anything to happen in between that time. And so now when that happened, was that what prompted you to start doing the grief work that you do now and the life coaching and stuff like that?
No.
Okay.
So when that happened, I died inside.
Okay.
I could not return back to work. My professional life was a thing that I could not work out. And I know now it's because I was so wrapped up in my success and hitting the next goal and the hustle and all of that, that I think it took me a while, but I found that I had contributed to Eric diving deeper. But what sucked about it was after Eric died, I blamed football. I needed to blame something.
You wanted a
because
crutch.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to. So many. I'm mad at Eric for dying. How dare he do this? We're supposed to be a team. Where the fuck are you? You're supposed to help me raise these girls. I can't do this by myself. You're the better parent. All of this stuff comes into your head. And then there's a storm and the tree falls down in the backyard and you're pissed because he's not here
to help with it.
And I told you 2 years ago to cut it down because it was going to fall, and now I have to do it by myself. So, damn it, Eric. Now I'm mad at you. But I can't be mad at you because you're dead. So I'm going to be mad at football. I'm going to be mad that you spent so much time with so many other people's kids instead of our own, because I thought we had more time. I was happy to share, but I thought we'd have you more. So there was a lot of anger in my grief.
Trust me, I know. My aunt's story, my Aunt Melissa, she's my godmother. I might actually dedicate this episode to her because your stories are so similar. 2 girls, husband who died suddenly, anger. Like my aunt is still angry.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't, my aunt relied on him for so much.
Yeah.
She didn't drive. She had to get her license. And so like everything you're saying, I've heard her say.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird too, because, I remember we'd have friends go through a divorce or something. And I'd be like, oh man, she's really lost without her husband. That's so sad. Like, I'm so thankful that I have my life and you have your life and we come in and we do this beautiful life together. But you're so wrapped up in each other. When you build a life together, there's so many reminders. Like we stayed in the home. Eric did not die in the home, and I think that I'm so fucking thankful that he did not die in our home, where we found him, where the girls found him, where I'd have a memory of that, because that stuff's hard to not see anymore.
Right.
There's a restaurant I've not ever returned back to. You drive by the hospital that you were in for the first hospital that the ambulance took them, and you can't look over there. You just get this pit in your stomach and in your chest. And it's the hardest thing ever. But, you asked about, is that when I started doing the grief thing? I didn't know what I wanted to do, Tori. Like, I felt so lost. I didn't know what to do. I just wanted to sit and be consumed by my couch so that I wasn't here anymore.
Right. You wanted to just kind of become the couch. Almost that type of okay.
I mean, and you would sit there and wake up in the morning and you shower for the day, and you might you might surprise yourself. Like I remember I'd watch a movie and like, the somebody would cry in the shower and they crumble to the floor.
Yeah.
And like before I lost Eric, I'd watch this and I'd be like, get the fuck
Fucking
up. Like,
crumb.
come on. Get up. This is so dramatic,
Right. Like, stand up, you dumb bitch.
Life's not going to get better on the floor of the shower. I mean,
Right.
gross. That's where all the gross things go,
Right. Do you know how much bacteria is on the floor?
But I was that person.
Right.
And then Eric died, and this weight and this hole and leaning against the shower and crumbling to the floor was an everyday thing. So I'd take a shower, I'd get dressed, I'd put sweats back on, and I'd go sit on the couch and I would just sit. And then I'd look at the clock and I'd be like, oh, 5 hours have passed. I think it's time for bed now.
Wow. How long did that last for, that type of
I don't
life?
even know. Months.
Months. I can
Months.
imagine months. Okay, well, continue. Before I even go into my thoughts.
Um,
So now you're
harder than me feeling that is hearing your kids
right.
cry in the shower.
Oh, and they
And
were
opening the door and checking in on them and seeing your 11-year-old on the floor in the shower.
oh my
And
God.
if I tear up now, like I've done some healing work, and that's what I do now for work.
Right.
Because I believe in this program so much, and that came much later, and we can get to that in a little bit, but I consider myself healed from Eric's death and the pain of that. Now I think of Eric every single day. I love Eric every single day, and every day I wish that he was here. I will never forget. But the pain is not there anymore.
Right.
But when I think about Rachel sitting on the floor in the shower,
you'll never. Do you think that's something you'll ever heal from? Because I feel like as a mother, watching a child go through that.
Yeah. Not being able to help your kids is horrible.
I definitely understand that. That's like my aunt, like, I don't know. Wait, how your daughters are, you have two daughters, right?
Yeah.
They're 12 and 15 now.
Correct.
So when Eric passed, how old were they?
8 and 11.
8 and 11.
So third grade and sixth grade.
Okay. That's around, okay, so like my cousins were 8 and 6, I want to say. So it's, again, like very, very, very similar in the sense that my aunt watched my older cousin basically become like a mute for months, like didn't speak to anybody.
Yeah.
It's hard to, when the kids go through that. How are they now, by the way?
Well, 15.
Right. Say no more. Say less. Say no more.
15, looks like she's 22.
God.
They're doing great. The youngest has severe anxiety and depression, but she showed symptoms of that before. But when Eric died, of course, it heightened.
Right.
She is still seeing a counselor once a week. She took a little bit of a break, but then needed to get back on because she's super sensitive, and that's fine. It makes her an incredible human that she is, but it's hard to deal with when your friends don't deal with that. 15-year-old is doing great. She compartmentalizes, so she has about 2 massive dad breakdowns a year. Okay. So I have to kind of watch for that. She opens up to me more now. Before she didn't, and she told me she didn't want to because she didn't want to make mom sad.
Aww.
But it's also kind of cool, like the work that I do now. Like we'll watch something on TV or something, and she'll be like, I think she should go and see you, Mom. Like, like they are aware of what I do. They watch my social media. They listen to me talk, and so they're picking up on things, which I think is so incredibly healthy. So I'll hear her talking to friends, and I'll be like, yeah, she got that from Mama.
Right. It's almost probably like she's self-aware of the shit that she does too. She's probably like, yeah, I compartmentalize. Like she's probably aware of that. And it's good that, like, because there are parents out there who don't there are people, just not even parents. There are
Right.
people out there who like say no to counseling. For some reason, counseling is a complete
Right.
taboo. And it's fucking changed my life
Yeah.
completely, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, so now, okay, so now here you are in this depression,
Yeah.
dealing with your grief.
Hmm.
What was the turning point, the climax?
I did. Well, I read everything because I'm a teacher. Eric's a teacher. Like, this is what we're students of life, you know.
Right.
So I was like,
Same.
give me all the books, give me all the blogs. I got to read it all. I got to figure it out. I got a grief therapist. Like, I did all the things. I read all the things. I did anything to help me feel, do, be better.
Right.
And all of it helped for a little while, is what I say. Because
Okay.
it's true. Like, these things are things that we do to help us numb what we're feeling on the inside,
Mm.
um, whether or not we do it on purpose or not, you know. But we think we're showing signs of improvement because we're acting like we're supposed to act,
Right.
right?
Right.
And the thing about these things that we do is that they're not bad things unless you're continuing to do them for the rest of your life to not feel what you're feeling on the inside,
Right.
or if they're harmful or addictive.
Right.
Um, but they also can be good things because they give us a spark of joy. So, like, I'd never run a power tool. So, I bought a 35-foot salvaged camper to rehab. And now I have all the fucking power tools because
Stop.
tell me that I fucking can't.
I fucking adore the shit out of you. That you have a fucking camper
In
tool
my
shed.
driveway still.
I'm done. Okay,
Yeah.
so all right.
So I have this camper currently trying to sell because I was rehabbing it. It was like therapy for me. Like, it has served its purpose. And initially
Right.
when I bought it, I thought, I'm gonna, we're gonna put it down at the lake, and the kids and I are gonna go and enjoy it and get away and blah blah blah. But really, I was in there hammering my shit. God damn you, Eric! How dare you die? Like,
Right.
pulling up the carpet. I hate my life. Like.
Right. Right.
So, we do these things that help us feel alive.
Yeah.
And so I did all of those things. And, I really thought, I want to do better. Like, I want to not just sit and talk and fester in my sadness anymore. I'm ready to make a difference, like, do something. Like, how can I do this? And I actually was looking into how to become like a grief counselor or therapist. And I looked it up and I was like, God, I don't want to do that. Like, that's a lot of schooling.
Right. Oh
It's a
shit.
lot of
Nope.
time. I may not
Pivot.
have that time.
Right. Right. Right.
And but in my research, I discovered something that was called the grief recovery method.
Okay.
And so, being a student of life, of learning, being a teacher, I started
Cheers.
diving,
Mm-hmm.
started diving through all of that. And I was like, this is it. Like, Eric being a football coach, I remember saying early on, there's no playbook grief.
Right. No, there isn't.
Yeah. And I was mad about that. I really hated that. I really like a checklist of shit. Give me a book. I'll figure it out. I'll read my to-do list. This is how you do it.
Check it
And
off.
and there wasn't that. And I was so angry. But, I found this grief is so different for everybody because
Yes.
we are so different, and our relationships with our people and our lives are so different. But when it comes to healing, there is a playbook to healing. And I think some people don't like to hear that because they feel like their grief is tied to their person or their thing, and they don't want to let go.
Right.
But healing doesn't leave your person in the dust.
Right. People
And
feel guilty almost, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like, I remember when I started to feel better before I was healed, I'd start laughing with my girlfriends, and I'd be like, I'd stop because how dare I laugh?
Right.
How can I laugh and be happy when my husband is dead?
Wow. That's
You know?
that's a burden that nobody should fucking bear. You know what I
No,
mean?
it's
That's
terrible.
that's
And
sad.
everything is a trigger, like I went into IKEA. We were going to get new bed sets for the kids after Eric died. We went on a Saturday and we stood in line to pay. We got all our papers. They're going to deliver and set it up for us because why the hell not?
Right.
And so we're standing there in line, and it's just me and the girls, 8 and 11 at the time. And on Saturdays in IKEA are the families.
Yes.
And all the dads are off work and they're at IKEA with their happy little fucking families.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so anxiety provoking, by the way. But
Yeah.
anyway, continue.
So we stood there looking at all the dads in line.
Mm-hmm.
There's a trigger, you know. My daughter bought a car. You know, we have a car now for her. Her dad was not there for that. Eric was not there for her first kiss, her first homecoming dance, her first job. You know, he won't be here for the graduations or weddings or their children, or he won't be retiring. We won't have a retirement life and be grandparents together. And so not only do you miss all the shit and have all the regrets from the past,
It's the future too.
it's all the future too.
Yeah.
All the unactualized future and hopes and dreams that you're not going to get either.
Right.
And we sit in that and we're so fucking sad. And so that's why your heart has to become healed. And that's what this work does. This is what I do now, you know, and I'm proof. So I did this last February. So it's not even been a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Eric's been dead. In February. Eric died in February. It'll be 4 years in February.
Okay.
At the 3-year mark, I got certified in this program, and I did this program, and I'm not the same person that I was a year ago. A year ago today, I wasn't her at all.
Okay, well, this brings me to so many questions, but okay, so you did the program for yourself to heal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And now you're saying, okay, you look back. Do you look back and you're like, I don't even know who the fuck that person is?
Yeah. Okay.
You do.
So the other day I was in my closet and you can tell so much about yourself in your closets. So,
oh God,
like I have the before Eric died clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the underwear because I threw all that stuff out because I was like, I'm getting new underwear, not because I was like in a sexual thing. It just was like I needed to feel better, so I bought new underwear. Weird thing, I don't know.
No, they're little quirks. I get it.
Yeah, and so in my closet, I have some clothes that were before Eric died.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is more of who I am now, but then I also have clothes of my deep grief.
Okay.
Like when I'm trying to rediscover myself or reinvent who I was without Eric. Because Eric dying was horrific and terrible. And it was a life-changing moment. Telling my children was a nightmare.
You did that? You
Yeah.
broke the news. Okay.
Yeah. But learning how to live again and figuring out who the fuck I am in Eric's absence by far has been the hardest thing that I have ever done in my life. So I'm standing in my closet and like leather jackets, black leather motorcycle boots. I'm like, I'm not that person anymore, you know?
Right.
But it wasn't me. I was trying to figure out who I was, you know?
Yeah. Like it's almost like you're rediscovering yourself.
Yeah. And so the person I am now is who Kari was before Eric died. Parts of who Kari was in deep grief.
Uh-huh. So it's kind of like you took would you say that you took the good parts of who you were in the grief, maybe the learning parts, the things that you learned? Because I feel like, I mean, you could probably tell me better than I could say this or articulate this, but I feel like I'm not, okay, so I've dealt with grief, my uncle passing, my aunt's husband. He was like a father figure, my grandmother, but I haven't obviously had a spouse die or, knock on wood, a parent die or or a sister, somebody like that. But I've dealt with depression and I've dealt with anxiety my entire life. And I know that from experience that in that depression is when like the greatest epiphanies and learning experiences happen. Like, do you feel that?
Yeah.
Because here we, right.
Oh.
right.
No, I do say that there is a gift in grief.
Yes.
And that is one of perspective. Like so much shit in the world doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. Oh my God. Go off. Go off.
It doesn't. Like, when I look back at the person that I was before, I did all the things that I should have done because I should go to this event, because I should, because they expect me, because I said I would, because
Mm.
I'll join the PTA, whatever. Okay, I didn't really join the PTA. I've always stayed away from the PTA.
Fuck the PTA.
Sorry, PTA people.
Right, but fuck y'all.
I'm not. I'll bring cookies,
Right, right,
and I'll
right.
tell you that I made them
But really, I bought them from the nearest bakery.
and put them on my plate.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But I seriously, the perspective of what's important. Like, I let so much shit just roll off my back anymore. I don't care. Like, somebody might, like a friend might, oh, la 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 la, and I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like, just let it go. I promise.
Right. Like in the grand
Nobody
scheme of
cares.
things. Right, right. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to we all end up in the same place, you know what I mean? But like while we're here, I feel like I've always been like that, very laid back, sometimes to a fault, but like the way I think about it is what I- like what if, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to hold a grudge with somebody or whatever, because what if I get in my car after this interview to go check my PO box, and on the way there a drunk driver comes, you know what I mean? Like you just
Yeah.
never friggin' know.
But Tori, I think that's the thing about you. I think you're very emotionally mature, and not
Yeah.
everyone is. Not everybody is. And I know, maybe I thought that I was, maybe I said that I was, and that made me feel better in my previous life, but I don't know that I was. Like, maybe I thought at some point that all of it mattered,
Right. Right.
you know?
Yeah. And I think that hindsight is 2020 too, because I mean like
Oh, yeah,
I,
it's a bitch.
right, 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 a big one. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked back at who I was, let's say, like I have like vlogs of myself from 3, 4 years ago, and I looked at myself, a video of myself the other night. And I remember in that moment when I was filming that video, I thought I was in a good place, and I really thought I had all my shit together
Yeah.
emotionally. And I look at that person, I'm like, you little baby bitch. Like who the fuck were you? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So
But that's part of being human too, the growing and evolving and
yeah,
always moving into something better.
yeah. Oh, absolutely progressing, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you did what is it? It's a course?
It's fucking magic.
It's fucking Hogwarts. It's Harry Potter shit.
Whoosh.
Like what the hell is it?
Yeah. Okay. So it's like it's a program called the Grief Recovery. Okay.
Mhm.
There is a book, and so
Oh,
like with a client, I would do. They have a little bit of reading, and then they have a little bit of homework, because the Grief Recovery understands that, when you're grieving, you can only handle so much at a time.
mhm.
And so there's some reading, there's some homework, and then we meet on a Zoom and we do it 7 times. So I like that it's not like an indefinite amount of time. Like, it's a
Right.
curriculum that kind of builds to this like finale project.
That's
And
awesome.
there's 3 components. So first of all, we talk about grief a little bit, and the misinformations and the myths of grief, and why people say and do stupid shit that doesn't help us.
Uh-huh.
Everything happens for a reason. Fuck that! No, it doesn't
Right.
happen. God only gives you what he can handle. Well, that's all. Really, I don't believe everything
Like
happens for a
all of
reason.
those
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Do
the
you
intellectual conversations that people say to make them feel better.
right, 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 right. Which are
I said,
bullshit, right? You would
yeah, I
say
said something nice to Carrie.
right.
They don't mean to. It comes from a nice place.
You know what I say? And I mean, okay, well, obviously, I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, but do you know what I say to people who are going through grief? Literally, and I don't even know if this is the right thing to say, but I literally say, there's nothing I can say.
Yeah,
Like, there's
there's
nothing I
nothing.
can say.
There is nothing that you can say to make it better.
Right. I know if one of my friends right now is dealing with the grief of a grandparent, and I was like, there is nothing I can say out of my mouth that'll make you feel better or make this go away, but
Yeah.
just know I'm a human body to rest your head on. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's it. You
Yeah.
know?
I remember Rachel, my oldest, had a friend come over to play. Like friends were so important after Eric died. Like it gave them life, you know.
Right, right.
And the mom came in to check on me, and it was one of those times I was sitting on the couch for 5 hours just staring off into space. And she came in and she sat right beside me and put her arm up over the couch, and I just fell into her and I
Mm.
cried. And I don't know how long we were there for. Um, we did not say a word. I just cried.
Right,
And I remember that moment so clearly and how much it meant to me because there's
right.
nothing she could have said.
There isn't. What are you
Yeah.
gonna say? And so anyway,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
first part is
Yeah,
this.
so we talk about grief in general, and then we talk about your own personal grief journey because we live in the positive vibes only world. Let's celebrate all the good things, but all the sad shit makes us feel uncomfortable. So please sweep that under the rug so that you can pull up your bootstraps and get back to work, so that you
Right,
look like you're okay,
right,
even
right.
though you're dead inside.
Exactly.
So, so we talk about your own personal journey with grief. And then from there, we choose one of your losses, the one that would make the most impact on your heart. And then we move forward into the recovery components. And that's kind of the steps towards completion, is what the Grief Recovery Institute calls it. And completion is kind of like a semicolon. It's like, here is your story. Let's leave the pain and pull out everything, but
Mm,
just leave the pain behind so that we remember, so that we don't forget, we don't leave your person in the dust, because death does not end a relationship.
right.
You think of your uncle, even though he is not here.
Always. Yeah.
Things happen in your life and you think of him. That relationship continues. The basement floods and I think of Eric. I might be mad at him, but you know what? He comes up.
Right. Right. Are
Yep.
you still mad at him?
Nah, I'm
No.
not. No, I'm not.
Okay.
So I got it all out of my system doing this program.
Do you well, that's it. And I feel like I reference my aunt a lot
Yeah.
because um I know that the death of my uncle, and he died in 2010. So
Mhm.
going on 11 years now,
Yeah.
he'll be gone, and she's still, and I hope if you're watching, don't take offense to this, but she's still not anywhere near healed.
Yeah.
It's like she's,
Like she's stuck.
yes,
She's
yes,
stuck.
uh-huh. And until hearing your story, like now, right now, hearing your
Hmm.
story, it's like, is there any way for her to be unstuck?
Yes. Yes, there is. It's never too soon and it's never too late to be
Okay.
healed. When Eric died, when someone dies to and is close to you, or if you can relate, like someone's your age and you hear that they died, a classmate or something, like it really, you feel your mortality.
Yes.
And so I remember thinking, I could die tomorrow. I could die tomorrow. Let's buy a golf cart, because why the hell not? I might die tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
this is running through your brain, and grief makes sense of it, even though it's not logical. There's a disconnect between your heart and your head, so it makes sense to us. And I remember meeting up with people and other widows that I knew in the area. Can I meet you for coffee? And I remember sometimes leaving there going, I don't want to be stuck for
Right.
20 years. And this cannot be the rest of my life. I cannot feel this way for the rest of my life. And I remember telling a potential client once, because she was older. She was like, I don't know, I might die tomorrow because I'm in my 70s or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but if I can heal you in 7 sessions and you can feel emotional freedom from the shackles of grief from your husband dying from 30 years ago,
Right.
wouldn't that be worth it if you even just had 2 years to feel alive again?
Exactly. That's it. It's like, um well, for me at least, like I would want to, even if I had 2 days left to live on
Yeah,
this earth, I would want my 2 days to be emotionally free. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And I feel like when you're dealing
yeah,
with that grief, it's almost like a fucking prison. I mean, I see my aunt, and
yeah,
and she's still very much in this prison place, and now she's dealing with the empty nest syndrome with her kids going off to college, one
But
of them
that's
already
grief
gone.
too.
Right.
That's grief too, because grief, okay, so get this. So this is what I've learned becoming a grief recovery specialist, okay?
Okay.
There's over 40 different losses that you can experience in your lifetime where you will feel grief. Empty
Boom.
nesting is
Great.
definitely one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I feel like, not to make this all about her,
Yeah.
but I feel like um she still feels alone and lonely from the loss of him,
Of
and
course.
now the kids leaving on top. It's like
Yeah.
and like
Yeah, it's compounding
right, it
for
is. It's
her.
exactly, yeah.
So when
Um
I talk on so I have a Facebook page and I go live. I try to go live 2 or 3 times a week. But I know one of the things I talk about is, we sweep shit underneath the rug.
yes.
Well, so, not that we're picking on your aunt, but
But
what's
pick
your aunt's name?
Melissa.
Melissa. We
Yeah.
love you.
We do love
And we're
you.
talking about you because we love you. and
Exactly.
and everyone can relate, but your aunt, when her husband died, there's some shit that she did her best, but maybe she isn't completely healed, and that's unresolved grief, but we got to get on with life, so we're going to sweep it underneath the rug. So
Mm-hmm.
now we have this bump in the rug, but as we get older, more shit happens to us because life
Right.
and things happen, and
Mhm.
so all of that also gets swept under the rug because society conditions us not to deal with the grief is like the most taboo topic in the English speaking Western world. We'd have no problem talking about death and sadness, but we're not going to talk about the grief, and the grief is the stuff that lingers after something happens, right?
Uh-huh.
So we sweep all this shit underneath the rug, and now this tiny little bump has become huge.
Yeah, right. Like a
And
fucking mountain.
you're either tripping on it or walking way around it to get to the other side through life. So
Right.
what we do is we dig out everything. So yeah, it does feel like we're opening up a can of worms, but we deal with it because unresolved grief affects every aspect of your life, regardless of whether or not you know it. So whether it be the chip on your shoulder, how patient you are, whether or not you're friendly to strangers at the grocery store, how if you have road rage, that's the
Mm.
thing. Like, I do not have road rage the way that I used to. And I know it's because of the perspective that I have, the healing that I've done. I'm not as angry about Eric dying. So, you know what? I'm not as angry to strangers either.
Right, right. It's like live and let live, I guess. You can
So
cut me
I
off.
I have this hashtag. I used to hashtag damn it Eric on posts that I would make.
Aw.
And so I had t-shirts made for the girls and I that said hashtag damn it Eric. And we went to Disney 6 months after Eric died, because it's the happiest fucking place on earth. And
Yes.
I wore my t-shirt. So we're waiting in line to meet Goofy. And
Uh-oh.
the people who are working are like, they're mingling and visiting with everyone in line to keep us happy. And this woman, poor soul, walks up to me and she's like, who is Eric and why are we mad at him?
Aw.
And my kids, they knew it was coming.
They were like, bye, we're gonna gonna go on that ride.
And I was like, Eric is my husband and he died.
Was she very uncomfortable about that?
I enjoyed it. I was so, but that's something else, like this dark humor. Like, I was hurting so badly. I wanted everyone around me to be hurt, even just for a fraction of a second.
Right. Feel the way that you felt.
Yeah. And they just take it from me for
Right,
half
right.
a second and then give it back.
Damn.
It's crazy what grief can do to you. And when you deal with unresolved grief, it's almost like you become familiar with it. It becomes an old friend that
Mm.
you carry with you, and you don't even know she's there, but she
Right.
is. And she affects you in everything: future relationships, interactions with strangers, how you show up in life, for work, for yourself.
It's literally like I've seen that, and I don't think in my own experience, again, I haven't lost any. Not to minimize. What's the fucking word I'm looking for? Not to minimize. It's minimize. Not to minimize the grief that I've gone through in my life, but for some reason, as sad as it makes me, I'll still like. Do you still find that even though you're healed,
Hmm.
that you still cry?
About Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Not as often,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't tear me. Like, if something were to trigger me,
Mm-hmm.
it would take me out for the day, the week, a couple of days. It's not like that anymore. Like, I can cry, I can have my moment, I can miss Eric. I will say something to him, and then I move on.
You don't take residency in that
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's my experience with grief.
Hmm.
As much as I miss my grandmother and I will memorialize her and watch videos and hear her voice and want to cry,
Yeah,
it's not something that uh takes up my entire life,
yeah.
you know. Um and I feel like there are people who, oh, I guess it's something you allow. Would you say that it's something you allow to happen? Like allow it to
Uh,
happen?
maybe because the thing is, especially with grief, like we sometimes feel like the grief is tied to our person, so we don't want to release the grief because then it might release our person from my memory
Right.
or my heart. But that's not true. But sometimes people hang on to it, but not consciously. They're not like I want to feel sad for the rest of my life.
Right.
So it's not like that.
It's not like a willingness. It's kind of
Right.
just something. Okay.
Well, and then you hear things too, like you're going to grieve, you're always going to grieve him. Well, missing him and grieving him are two
Two
different
different things.
things.
Can you explain that? Just explain that.
Yes. Okay. Um, so when Eric died, I
Hmm.
was grieving Eric. I had, and grief is complicated emotions. I had this wonderful life. Eric, I love you so much. We have this beautiful life. I can't believe you're dead. I hate you. Why are you dead? It makes me so sad. So you have these two complicated emotions that are battling it out. And you're dealing with all of the regrets of what I should have done or said different, better, or more. Plus, you're dealing with the conflicted emotions of unactualized future and hopes and dreams that you were hoping to have with your person.
Right.
So all of that's ripped away. That is grieving, and it's this war inside of your heart.
Okay.
Okay.
So grief is
More
the war.
grief is the internal war.
Okay.
Yes. Now, mourning is how you show the war to everyone else. So
Okay.
when people say, "Oh, she's mourning," it's because you can see she's mourning.
Right. Wearing
And
black
people
or crying.
wearing black, crying, taking it out, wearing the damn Eric shirt and making people feel like shit, things like that. Okay, that's mourning.
Okay.
Suffering is something else too. That's suffering is just something that you do to yourself, you
Okay.
know, because you're just sitting it and you're spiraling. And the thing is, when you're suffering from grief, you can't help it. Like all the strategies that we know, affirmations and life coaching strategies, they don't work when you are
When
suffering
you're
from
suffering.
grief because there's a disconnect from your heart and your head. And then there's missing your person.
And
I have
that's healthy, I would assume.
That is healthy. You don't
Okay.
ever want to forget your person.
Right.
You don't ever want to stop loving them.
You can't,
You
even if
can't.
right.
Yeah.
So,
And so I'm missing Eric. I miss Eric. I wish he was here. I was looking through some old photos the other day, finding something for Rachel, and I ran across Eric's ice bucket challenge with the football team.
oh my God.
Oh man, he had like 100 kids with, Home
Oh,
Depot 5-gallon buckets that they loaned them for the ice bucket challenge. It's like 2012, I think. And
yeah.
I had to look it up because I'm like, when was the ice bucket challenge a trend?
Yeah.
And so I found it, and I'm listening to his voice and I'm seeing him from afar, and I'm watching him pour ice on himself and then run and like just bump all the players, and I'm watching that and I'm smiling really bigly, and I'm just, and I said to this computer that I'm sitting at right now. God, I miss you, Eric.
Right.
You know,
But it
whereas
wasn't.
before,
Uh-huh.
it would have taken me down for days.
Right. That's the difference.
That's the difference.
So it's like, because I feel like us as human beings, obviously, who aren't, hopefully nobody in that I know or in my nearest viewership has dealt with grief that much that they're a fucking expert in it without taking a course. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully. So I feel like as lay people who don't really deal with grief like that, like even me, until you just explain that and broke it down, that there are different facets, that you can miss somebody without grieving over them or without suffering about their loss. That didn't even register, like, to me, you
Mm,
know. Do you
good.
you feel
Yeah.
like that's like, I mean, you probably know, working with your clients, like that's
Yeah.
something
Well,
that
people
happens.
don't know because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about the grief, which is the
Right.
shit that lingers after something sad happens.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And like you can um like you can like you just said, you can watch a video of somebody who has passed or is no longer in your life and say, like, you can miss them but with positive emotions, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like,
You know, and people used to say, oh, Carrie, you just have to feel this, which is true. Time will heal. Not true. Time heals nothing. Time just allows you to get familiar with the sadness so she
mm,
becomes an old friend and you don't even realize that she's still just hanging out with you.
shit, yeah, I guess you're right. Like, it's not, because people would say that, it's like, you don't ever get over it, you get used to it, you
Yeah.
know
It doesn't have to be that way though.
it doesn't.
And we don't know that
No, we don't know that. I didn't.
because, I mean, you don't know it until you have to go through it. And then sometimes we just accept it. And at one point, I was accepting it. Okay, this is my life. I
Right,
will
this
always be like this.
is my new
And
normal.
yeah, and then when I was trying to figure out how to be that grief counselor or therapist or something, I was like, too much school for me. You know, I was like, too much, I don't got that time. I might die tomorrow, like,
Right.
and then I run across the grief recovery and I'm reading and absorbing all of that stuff. And I'm like, there's a better way. This is the playbook, but nobody knew it. And this program's been around for 40 years and colleges are studying it for its effectiveness, but nobody knows about it, which is why I'm so fucking passionate about sharing about it, because you don't know about it until it happens. But when it happens, people tell you time will heal you
Right.
or
It's
you're
those.
always going to grieve them. That's not true. It doesn't
No.
have to be true.
Would you say you'll always miss them,
Yes.
but you don't have to grieve them?
Yes.
Okay.
But if you say that to someone in the freshness of deep, dark grief, they
They don't
will
want to.
say, fuck you,
Right. They'll want to
Tori.
punch you in the face.
Yeah. They want to throw heavy cans of soup at you, like, how will I not ever grieve him? I remember feeling that way. I
Right.
remember I remember a girlfriend, this was kind of pivotal because it always kind of just stuck with me. And she goes, Carrie, at some point you're going to look back at this time and you're going to think, gosh, that was a really hard time. I'm glad I'm not there anymore. And I remember when she said it, like I held on to it for some hope, but at the same time I was like, fuck you.
What a
Like I am
disrespect.
always going to feel this. How
Right.
will I not feel it
Right.
this intensely?
Do you
So,
did you feel like you almost had to feel that way in order to be a good wife? Like, I have to grieve him for the rest of my life,
yeah,
because if I don't, then that means I don't love him or whatever.
yes.
Um,
And I
yeah,
have to look sad and I can't look like I'm okay.
right.
Even though, and that's conflicting too, because the rest of the world wants me to be okay. But if I look too okay, she must not have really loved Derek.
Right.
And
Oh
that
my
may
God.
not have been true, but that was my perception of it.
Right, right.
And so that's why people hang on to things and don't do things. Or that's why they go shopping at a grocery store or have a first date or meet someone for coffee 2 hours away from their home so that they don't run into someone
Oh
that
my
might know
God.
them.
Like, because they feel like almost like they're cheating or whatever,
Yeah,
especially with a spouse.
absolutely. Well, and it's not like Eric and I would have ever gotten a divorce. We would not have.
Right. You guys would be, well, I mean, you,
So if Eric were still here, we'd still be married.
you'd still be married to this day.
Hmm.
Do you, okay, so you say that people think that the key to everything is just grieving and just getting used to the grief, but it doesn't have to be that way. So then what would you say is like the key to healing?
The key to healing is to review. When your person dies, you automatically go into what's called a relationship review. And so you're constantly like digging out every moment, interaction, little, big, anything that was like a Instagram story that you might have shared,
Right.
every tiny little thing, and you review it, and it weighs you down. The grief recovery method has you do that, and what we do is we open up the can of worms, and we pull out every stone and rock and boulder in a particular relationship, and we deal with each one so that you're not harboring anything that might fester up later from underneath the rug.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's basically like opening Pandora's box.
Yeah, and it's not easy. And sometimes I think that that's why people may not want to do this work when they discover it. They may be
Mm.
like, I don't know, that sounds a little uncomfortable. And it is. I know I've done it 4 times. I mean,
It's
I worked on my relationship with Eric, but once you learn how to do this, you can work with any loss that you've ever had in your life. And every time you do it, you get lighter and lighter and you feel better and better. And then as life continues, you're going to have more losses. So you can work on it with future losses too.
right. Would you say that, I mean, when even when somebody, it's not like necessarily like you said there are 40 different types of
Hmm.
uh situations that we grieve. Not
Hmm.
all of them obviously are death.
Correct.
I would assume that most of them actually aren't death.
Correct. I
Okay.
mean, empty nesting.
Yeah.
Basically, when you grieve a loss is any kind of change in your normalcy, your life.
Hmm.
So even if, like, I left teaching, I loved teaching. Middle school math was my jam. Can I say jam? Is that still a thing?
You can say jam
Man,
a
I'm
lamp.
showing my age.
I say jam too, so fuck
Okay.
it.
Well, I loved teaching middle schoolers, right? It was so much fun.
Mm.
But I was really excited about staying at home with my daughters, you know?
Yeah.
And I knew that that was going to be good. And so I was excited about leaving teaching. And God, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm so glad I'm not teaching now during COVID. Holy shit. Teachers, I am so sorry. And I pray for you every day.
Right. No, they're going through it.
so, so I'm leaving teaching. Well, guess what? I still grieved that, even though I was looking forward to what's to come. Anytime you move, you
Yeah.
might grieve the loss of the home, even if you're looking forward to the newer, bigger house that's going to have the better bedroom for you, that with a better window or something. Like
Right.
you're leaving a space that you're used to. I
And
mean,
that's grief.
and that you can still feel some grief from that. So like when you move, you should walk through every room and kind of do a Con Marie. Thank you so much for, holding my babies when I brought them home from the hospital.
Right. Right.
Hallway that my dog has puked on everywhere. Thank you for
Thank thank
still
you.
being here.
Thank you, floor, for absorbing this vomit.
Right. Now I'm kind of poking fun at it, but still, it will help your release when you're moving to say goodbye to every space,
Right. Right.
and just kind of recall something that happened. I mean, moving areas. And when you're a child, if you are forced to move, I mean, you don't have any say when you're a kid.
Right. There's
So
no
that could be
choice.
traumatic for you. You
I
leave, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was gonna say I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like there
You
you
have
don't
no say.
yeah. It's like it's like a dictatorship
Yeah,
almost.
changing jobs, changing, or when maybe a coworker leaves and goes to a different job and you're really, really happy for her, but God, you miss her.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't even
You know,
realize like
little
things
things like that.
things we don't even realize on a daily basis affect us in that way. And I feel like that's where like fucking abandonment issues come from, and you know, like all of that.
Yeah.
Would you put a time frame on the healing process?
When you're ready.
When
And
you're ready.
only you know when that is. I mean, sometimes people are like, oh, you're going to feel like this. It's going to hurt like this for a year. Well, there's no magical rope at the end of the year mark like it's a race,
Right, right.
you
All
know?
right, it's been 365 days. I'm ready to feel good now. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. The time heals nothing, you know?
Right.
But society thinks, oh, it's been a year. I remember before Eric died, a friend of mine, someone that I knew, her husband died. 3 years later, Eric came home and said, hey, guess what? So and so is getting married. I was like, already? It's only been 3 years since her husband died.
Right, right, right.
I can't tell you how many times I've thought of that since Eric died. How
And
dare I?
and you're in a happy relationship now, right?
I am with Mr. Match.
Mr.
That's what I call him.
Match.
That's what I call him. He has a
Okay.
name, but publicly I call him Mr. Match because
Okay.
I feel sorry for him because he doesn't really know what he's gotten into. He does, but
But not really.
but not really. Like in March it'll be 2 years.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome. And you said it's been 5 years since Eric passed?
four. It'll be 4 years.
4. Okay.
In February it'll be 4. So, and really he was unexpected. I mean, we could do a whole nother call on that. Like I felt like I had worn out the welcome of um my social crew of my married friends.
Mm. Oh my
And
God. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I really need to increase my own personal social life because my social life can't be wrapped up in my kids. While I love them, I need an adult social life.
Right.
I was like, oh, I'll join Match and Bumble and, just see what happens. It's fucking scary out there, by the way. Uh,
Yeah. It's no better for lesbians, by the way. I'm telling you that.
so I'm out there and really I'm just thinking, I'm going to go out and just, you know what? I've got a following online from my video business and I'm keeping that page alive until I figure out what the fuck I'm going to do. I'll just create great content with online dating in your 40s as a widow. And I mean, I do have some good stories, but the fourth person that I met on a date was Mr. Match.
Oh.
And he is also a widower. And so we had that in common. And I love that in our relationship, Eric and his wife are very much alive in our relationship.
Aw. That's amazing too. You know
Yeah,
that
it's a
that
gift.
yeah. Almost it's like almost like Eric's like, here's somebody that you can relate to, and maybe
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like on a
And he's
spiritual
all
level.
the things. Yeah, and he's all the things. Eric was an incredible husband and father and partner and man. But Mr. Match is all the things well, that Eric was, because they both have incredible character and values, and I love that about them. But Eric and I didn't hold hands in public. We weren't lovey-dovey. He didn't have to sit beside me on the couch and dote on me. We just didn't have that relationship. We did our shit and we came together and it was awesome. We had 2 kids, so sex
Right.
twice. I'm just kidding.
So he had sex at least 2 times.
Just twice. No, I'm just kidding. We just weren't affectionate, you know.
Right.
And I didn't know that I missed that or needed it, but I definitely need it in this chapter of life. And Mr. Match provides that emotional need for me.
That's
And he's just wonderful. He really is.
that's amazing.
But he came by accident. I really wasn't looking for him. I was looking for content.
I was looking for shit to talk about on my
Yeah.
video.
Oh man, that's another time.
I'm gonna have to have you back then to talk about this shit then,
Yeah.
because so now before I let you go,
Yes.
the last question I have, and I definitely want to have you back because there's so much I feel like I still want to talk to you about. And you're fucking awesome, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. I've enjoyed this. This has been fun,
So
Tori.
have I. So have I. What would you say to anybody out there? Like, what would be your best piece of advice to anybody out there dealing with any type of grief?
Yeah. What I would say is what you are feeling is normal and natural and exactly what you should be feeling right now. You don't have to suffer for the rest of your life. This is not the end all. It can be better. Look for it.
Wow.
That's what I would say.
Okay. I'm going to take that advice too anyway for myself as well,
Yeah.
because I feel like that is a message that we all need to kind of hear sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I look back on my life sometimes. I do a lot of reflection that I never used to do before. And I think about how I've been led to this work and where I am in my life right now. Every little thing mattered, even all the fucked up pieces that I
Right.
messed up with,
Yeah.
But it's because of all of it that I'm here. And this is exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
Right. Don't give up. Don't
Yeah.
let it, well, not let it linger, but like know that it gets better kind of thing, I
Yeah.
guess.
Life does get better.
Yeah. That's
Always.
amazing.
Yeah. Just keep pushing forward.
You're fucking amazing. I would love to have you back
Let's do
at
it.
any time. And thank you so much for your time. I know you're friggin' busy with
Yeah.
everything, but
You got 15 minutes and I got a client.
well, go do your thing. Thank you so much. Seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Tori.
And hopefully I will talk to you soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.